Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining again. So today's example we'll be discussing on try finally, how it works, and then try with multiple catch and how it works. Okay. As usual, let me try to copy the one which we have already. I'll copy this code, paste it, and I'll rename my class name, which is try finally. Now, instead of this catch block, I'll try to have a finally block, and accordingly, I'll change the message also. What will happen if we have try and then if we have a finally block? Try will execute as I have explained already, as I explained in the previous training or the session. Try will execute, along with that finally will execute. Since we don't have a catch block, if there is an exception, it will throw the exception object, respective exception class object. Since there is no catch, end of main will not be executed. We'll try to understand when do we use it, but for now, let's understand how this works. So let me take this opportunity to copy this. And let me clear the screen. Java C file name.java interpreter command followed by the class name. We know this. Start of main, start of try, Mysore is printed, no exception. End of try, successful execution of try block, finally, and then end of main. Good. Now we need to go with the exception. Let's see, as I mentioned before, end of main will not execute because there is no catch block to catch the exception thrown. Catch the exception thrown by your catch block. So what do we expect? So start of main, start of try, there is an exception. So no end of try because it was not a successful try. So it will go to final block, execute it, and abnormal termination will happen because there is no end of main. So this is how it works. But in the coming examples, we'll try to understand when to use try with finally. But in the rarest case, we use it, but we need to understand how it works. So it's a rarest scenario we use try finally, but in most of the cases we use try catch. And if required, we'll be having one finally block. The next example will be going with try, multiple catch, and one finally block. Let me close all the others. Try, multi-catch with one finally block. Okay, finally block is optional. When you write try catch, finally will be optional. Okay, now I need to have more errors to handle more catch blocks. We have only one error, which is array index out of bounds. When we try to access this, let me try to elaborate this to have multiple errors so that we can understand here. Then I'll improvise this code. Okay, so let me remove this line for now and let me take a string with name is equal to v of 0. After this, I'll try to have two more errors. So let me try to convert it into an integer. Int number is equal to integer dot parse int. Not sure. I need to use this with name. And later, I'll try to create an array x by taking that number as an array size. So we'll have more errors. Let me see whether I get a compile time error or a runtime error. So let me clear the screen and let me compile it. Try. Okay, I did not compile it once. So let me compile it. I'll get a compile time error. Yes, this is getting a compile time error. Variable integer is not found in dot percent. Let me try with this. It's been very long. Integer is represented by a class java p java dot lang dot integer. This is the class, and I need to check the parse int function here. This is the command to get it. Integer, compare, divide. Okay. Let me try to go int dot pass. Int dot pass will not work. Okay, let me try with integer with number. New. And let me try with integer number, and this will be given as an array index. Okay. Okay. Might not have been initialized. This is already initialized. Okay, let me not take much time. Let me just divide it. So I'll take int number is equal to minus 25. Okay. String dot parse int. It should be parse int. Let me stop the recording. I'll pause it. Thank you. This is the code. We have one line here. This might cause an exception. This might cause an exception. Even this might cause an exception. Let's see that with the catch block. And I'll try to have a finally block. System.out.println. And this will be the finally block. So let's see and improvise the code. This is my compilation. There is no error in the compilation. And now I'll give 12. You can see the message. Let me take the pointer to explain you people. Try, start of try. It can read index 0, no exception. It can convert it into number, no exception. It created an array with size I, no exception. End of try. Exception block will not execute. Finally will execute with try block. Let's try to have more errors now to understand the exception classes. If I don't give the input, I'll get this exception, which is called as array index out of bounds exception. Now I'll try to have more catch blocks. And this time it will be array index out of bounds exception object. And I'll call this one as catch block 1. If there is an array index out of bounds, I'll be in this catch block, which is 1. Okay. And this is A, I, E. So let's see. Now let me recompile the code. Now if there is no exception, start of main, start of try, end of try, finally end of main. If I have not given the input, which is array index out of bounds, will be handled by catch block 1. Do you have any errors? Yes, I have more errors. I'll give you a number, which is 10. Now what will happen in this case is, this will be read, but when it is trying to convert 10 into a number, this is not a string in the number. So it gives me a conversion error. So now this catch block cannot handle it. That's where exception block will can, which is called as parent catch block. You should have parent catch block always at the last. So let's see the output. Now you can see exception block, and this is number format exception. If you want to handle this separately, you need to have one more catch block, which should be before the parent catch block. This is now the number format exception. Number format exception. And this will be my second catch block. So this is where we need more than one catch blocks. So this will be 2, which will be handled by number format exception object. This is the object. If we get any other error, if it is array index out of bounds, handled by catch block 1. Number format exception catch 1 if it is any other error, because this will give you negative array size exception, that is handled by the parent. So let's see that by recompiling our code. And directly I'll try to go with this, no exceptions. Array index out of bounds handled by catch block 1. Number format exception catch block 2. And if we give a number which is negative, it will be thrown as negative array size exception. Who handled it? It is handled by this guy. It's always a best practice to have parent catch block at the last. What will happen if we don't mention this? Nothing. Array index out of bounds, it will be handled carefully. Number format exception, it will be. If you find any other exception in your code, you don't have the parent to handle it. If you don't have these two, catch blocks, even then, if you have this one, it can handle every exception. Let me comment this from here till here. Now let us see the 3 exceptions what we got, which will be handled by one catch block, which is called as parent catch block. Compile it. No exception. Array index out of bounds handled by the parent catch block. Number format exception handled by the parent catch block. Negative array size handled by parent catch block. This is how you can have the multiple try catch block, but this is always a best practice to have it. Hope you're good. So this is how try and multiple catch works. If you don't want to have multiple catch, you must have an parent catch block which is having exception object. Finally block, as we have seen, it executes always, whether there is an exception or not. But one thing to remember, only one catch block will execute for one try. You have a try, any one will be executing. Any one finally will execute always with the try block. Good with this? Thank you for watching this video. With this, I'll be ending this recording. Thank you.